How's it going, Internet? This is Jeremiah. Back on Lichess again for another chess analysis. Something I see a lot on YouTube is people tend to only show their winning games. So I'd like to show you a game where I was winning, where I was crushing the guy, and then I blundered terribly and lost very quickly. All right, so a little bit of a backstory. I was playing, it was about like 10:30 p.m. at night. I had had several Pabst Blue Ribbons, and I wanted to clear my mind a little bit, so I hopped on Lichess to play an online game. My opponent was rated 1851. I am currently rated 1888 on Lichess, so it was an equal opponent. I was interested to see what he would do. All right, here we go. Here's the game. E4. I always open with E4, as you know. He plays this D6 move, which is called the Pirc defense. It is more positional. It doesn't immediately attack anything. It's just he's setting up to play a couple different moves. He's setting up to either play this or this. And I understand that. It's fine. No issue. So I play D4, taking control of the center. This is a ideal pawn duo for chess. You want to have two pawns in the center like this most of the time. And, you know, when he plays, when black plays a move like this E6 move, or I'm sorry, D6, it invites you to get this pawn center. So I think most grandmasters and theoreticians would say that white already has an advantage here, and I would tend to agree. He follows up with G6, clearly getting ready to fianchetto his bishop here. So I anticipated that. And whenever I see this G6 move here, Grandmaster Simon Williams taught me, always push your H-pawn. Come on, Harry, the H-pawn. You know, he wants to go here on the next move. So I'm looking to break up this structure around here. Like, eventually, he's going to want to play bishop to here. He's going to want to play knight to here. He's going to want to castle. That's his basic plan, usually, in this type of defense. So this H4 move, rawr, sets it up. So yeah, sorry, it's the computer sometimes pre-moves it. So yeah, I play H4 and as he plays G6, or bishop G7, as planned, as I expected. Rawr, H5, coming to get him. Putting it at H. You know, like I said, I want to break this up, so I don't know why I wouldn't play this move here. And the computer thinks that this move is fine too. Thinks it's perfectly great. Knight F6, and here I make a slight error. I take this pawn. The computer wants me to play H6 here. Just keep that H pawn rolling, with the idea of he has to play bishop F8 to save his bishop. And now his pieces look a little bit uncoordinated. Like, he's not castling this way anytime soon. It's going to take a couple moves for his bishop to get out this way. Like, he's going to have to play like this. Or even to play here before his bishop can come out. So his bishop's already wasted two moves. And I can understand why the computer would want me to play this. But again, you know, it's an online game. I wasn't really worried too much about the theory, you know, and again, I had some Pabst Blue Ribbons, so I just took, you know, instead of pushing the H pawn like the computer wants, I just take this pawn. The computer just doesn't think that this is such a bad mistake. It just doesn't agree with it strategically. Thankfully, my opponent made a similar blunder by playing F takes G6. Again, the computer wants him to play H takes G6. And then after rook takes rook, bishop takes rook, knight c3, again, black is looking a little uncoordinated. This bishop is in a weird spot. He's never castling this way. He doesn't have control over the center. You know, his position looks not as good as it should be. This is what the computer thinks. You know, humans can sometimes make different moves. So he plays F takes G6, which opens up this diagonal here. So if he ever did decide to castle this way, his king's going to end up on this square, and then I can start harassing him with checks on the diagonal. I think that's why it doesn't like f takes g6. Probably. So I play f3. One of the rules that I follow from Grandmaster Ben Feingold is never play f3. But here it's okay. Sometimes you can play it. The idea is that I don't want his knight coming in here. I don't want his bishop coming in here. Like, I want to have extra protection over the g4 square. And eventually, I have plans to go like this. Let me go back. Eventually I have plans to go like this. Maybe something like this. Maybe something like here. Maybe knight here, up into this area. Then I castle queenside. And I've got an open h-file here leading in. Knight, go back. Annoying knights. Stop it, knight. I've got this open h-file here, getting back to it now that this knight isn't being annoying. Yeah, f3, it's not the best move, and it breaks one of Grandmaster Ben Feingold's rules, but it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. The computer doesn't hate it. He plays knight c6, getting his knight out. Bishop e3, again, kind of sort of going forward with the plan that I was talking about getting my pieces out here and castling queenside. He plays knight h5. Yeah. There's a saying in chess, knights on the rim are grim. The reason being is that when your knight's here, there's nothing else over here on the other side of the board. So the only squares that the knight really controls are these squares. He's losing out on half of his influence by being here on the rim. And a move like this, it's a little obvious because clearly his knight wants to go here. That's where his knight wants to go. This type of move, it's a one-move threat. And it's not even really a threat. His knight wants to come here. His knight's never getting there. But it wants to. And by making a move like this, he's just wasting time. Maybe what he should have done is, he could have castled here, but I wouldn't agree with that. Maybe get his bishop out somewhere. Could be a move. Maybe put your bishop here. Bishop here. No, bishop there would be a very bad idea. If he played his bishop here, he walks right into this. So, no, you can't do that. But knight h5 just seems like he's trying to go for an attack when he should be playing for the opening objectives of getting your pieces out and castling. Already, black's position, in my opinion, is suspect. So anyway, knight h5. I play knight e2, getting my knight out. Developing a piece, also keeping an eye on this square just in case he wants to come in, which he shouldn't anyway, but just in case he does. Knight e2. b6. Again, you see these types of... Whoa, what just happened here? That's... Okay, b6. Again, when you see these types of moves, the bishop, it indicates that your opponent always wants to play his bishop here. And then if they don't, then it's like, why are you playing b6? If you play b6 or g6, your bishops are going to be fianchettoed. It's the same thing if white plays b3 or g3. You play that move to put your bishop on the subsequent square. And again, this is an obvious move. There's no subtlety here. He's not trying to be tricky or anything like that. He's just trying to get his pieces to good squares. And in the meantime, he's leaving it up to me to be tricky. Like, I've got my pawn structure right here, which is pretty nice. That's an attacking pawn structure. And again, I've got the open h-file. Yeah, so he's not really playing... he's not really playing for long-term strategic goals. He's just playing for short-term obvious moves, which is a fine way to play. I see a lot of people that do this. I just don't agree with it. So I develop another piece here. The computer says that playing g4 here is a good move. Computer actually says that I should be playing g4 here for like the next 2 or 3 moves. And I sort of agree with that. I just, like I said earlier, I have this nice pawn structure. I still have to accomplish my objectives of getting my pieces out and castling. So when, g4, it's the best computer move, and a grandmaster might play this. But for me, I'm not a grandmaster. I look forward to being a grandmaster, but I'm not. So I didn't see this move yet. I'm just thinking develop, so I get a piece out. And, the computer thinks this is fine too. It's no big deal. Bishop goes to b7 as expected. I play this move, which again, the computer does not agree with. The computer actually hates this move. And it is passive. I didn't want this knight to come here again. Very similar to why I played f3 earlier. I didn't want the knight to come here. Same way, I didn't want the knight to come to this square, because it could technically get annoying there. It just does it. I don't want him going there. So I play a3. The computer gives this really crazy continuation. This is an example of how computers see so many moves ahead, and it's difficult for humans to really understand the idea of it. But I'll show you what the computer wants. Computer wants to play g4, as it does. Like, it's been wanting me to do this last move, so it says do it this move. And then it offers this continuation for black. Knight f6. Knight f4. Eyeing up this square, and then these pieces. Yep. e5. Knight comes into the square that it wants. Queen has to save herself. And this is where it gets, these are computer moves. The computer plays g5, threatening the knight. Black has 2 pieces that are going to attack these pieces. Continuation continues like this. Queen takes knight. And this is the weirdest point. Like, I think most players would just snap up this knight immediately. But again, I did not even see this continuation. Fork these 2 pieces. And now this is hilarious. Like, this is how I want to end up playing in the future, how the computer sees this. Like, I can't believe it. Like, it's amazing. Knight takes, pawn takes, renewing the threat of attacking both of these pieces. Queen moves away, saving herself. Bishop b4. Multi-purpose, dual-purpose move. Pinning this knight so the knight can't go anywhere because it's pinned to the queen. If the knight goes anywhere, I just take that queen. You don't want that. It also develops a piece, gets another piece into the action, my light square bishop. And yeah, it just maintains the tension and says, okay, black, what are you going to do now? Right? So black castles. Again, not snapping up the knight as you would expect. Like, again, I think most players would just take that knight. Why not? But nope. White is in no rush. Queen e2. Black is trying to activate his pieces. He wants to get this bishop active on the diagonal. I mean, otherwise he doesn't have anything else to do. It's really interesting. Like, this is the they call it restriction, is where, instead of always trying to force the initiative on your move and like force captures and force things, you restrict the other opponent from making the moves that they want to make. And I think that's what this is, because I mean, what can black do here? Like, it's the only move that really makes sense. And again, white is in no rush. Castle, completing my objectives, getting everything done. My rooks are connected. Black gets rid of his awesome bishop over there. Doubles my pawns. And again, this is the type of stuff that computers see as fine. As human, I'm not sure, and I'll show you what happens after the sequence here is over. Always play king b8. That's another Ben Feingold rule. F takes e4. Rook h to e8. I'm sure you can see now, he wants to put pressure here on this guy. My rook comes up to h4 to protect it. Again, no rush in taking that pawn. And now finally, he makes a move that sort of forces my bishop to do something. It's like, what am I doing here? All right? My bishop's under attack. The question has been asked. Again, these are just the computer moves. This is not how I played. This is just what the computer thinks. Pawn takes knight, bishop takes pawn, and now the bishop takes here on a6. And I mean, it's amazing. Like, I think the computer says that white has not only a piece advantage, because clearly white's up a piece. You know, I've got the 2 bishops to his 1, but it gives it something like +4 or 5 because the king side is ripped open. And now white can maybe think about doing stuff like this, getting the rook over, getting the bishop. Both bishops are coming in. The queen can come in. The king can't go anywhere. He's got no defenders except for this guy. And yeah, the computer thinks that white is just absolutely destroying it here. Now, for those of you that were counting, that is a 13-move sequence that the computer figured out. So we have to go all the way back to move 10, where I play a3. This is what I play. The computer thinks that this move still gives white an advantage, lets white keep an advantage. But yeah, after that 13-move sequence, it says that white has an overwhelming winning advantage. So I don't know. Computers, right? Can't live with them, can't kill them. So I play a3. Queen d7, which is fine. Queen d2, which is fine also. The computer keeps insisting that I play g4 here. I just don't do it because I don't see it. So I play queen d2, developing another piece, getting ready to castle. Bishop a6, which I don't understand. I mean, if you're going to play this, maybe why didn't you play this earlier? You know? Again, you're wasting... The bishop's already moved here once, and now it's moving again twice, so he's losing a move. I think maybe he should have just castled. It's fine. Yeah, so he plays bishop a6. I castle, which again is a major objective. A major objective in chess is to castle and get out all your pieces. Again, the computer is screaming at me to play g4 here. Again, I just don't do it. Castle. He castles. Finally, g4. The computer wanted me to do this like 3 moves ago. Knight f6, dropping back. Always play king b1. Always play king b8 or king b1 if you castle queenside. Thank you, Ben Feingold. Computer offers this move too as a better continuation, threatening to come here. You know, forking those 2 pieces and winning a piece, but also weakening this kingside or queenside structure over here by my king, and I don't have many defenders over there except for this knight. So playing b4 here just looks scary to me. Looks like this is an easy way for humans to blunder. So I didn't play that. I just played king b1. h5, putting it at h. You know, he wants to rip open the h file and come attacking, which is fine. But I don't want to open the h file. I just push forward and attack his knight, which the computer thinks is great. Knight g8, undeveloping. Your knight's gone on a journey there, bro. You know, since the beginning of the game, your knight went here, then your knight went here, then your knight went back to here, then your knight went home. So I don't know. Not good. There's a few different moves here. This move is fine. You know, I'm skewering. God, you stupid computer. Okay, I'm skewering the queen and the king, so he really only has one move here, which is the move that he played, e6. But now there's interesting tactics. Because again, a pin means that if you move the piece, then this takes it behind it. So right now, this pawn is pinned to the queen. If this pawn moves, then I take that, which you can't let happen. So forcing move, forcing tactic, d5. You can't take this pawn. This knight really can't go anywhere. I mean, maybe there's some ideas of him going here. I guess if you want to go back here, you know, if you're crazy, you know, those are really your only 2 moves, which are terrible. Terrible moves. You know, if he goes here, then I play b5. Oop. And his knight's pretty much trapped. Oh, maybe. Maybe not. Maybe you can go here. I don't know why I didn't analyze this more in my home analysis. I just looked and the computer didn't say that white had anything here, so I mean, yeah, whatever. Queen e7, and I take the rook, or I take the knight rather. So yeah, you know, I'm doing pretty good here. I'm up a piece. I have a little bit of an issue with this structure, this pawn structure, maybe, but I mean, I'm up a piece, winning. You know, the king, his king over here is a little awkward. You know, he doesn't have these squares to go. This bishop doesn't have a square to go to, and this pawn, like this guy right here, is just a monster. So doing good. The one issue that I have at this point in the game that I remember is I had less time on my clock than he did. I had spent more time thinking. So I had 5 minutes left on my clock, and he had 7. So he's got a little bit of a time advantage, and that does come back to bite me in the ass later. But for right now, I'm winning. Bob's your uncle. Everything's fabulous. He plays king b8. Always play king b8. Knight d4, coming in, double attack here on this guy. You know, also getting my knight active in the center, which is sort of where you want him to be. And also asking him what he wants to do. Like, if black wants to get rid of this bishop here, I'm fine with that. No problem. So he does decide that. I take with the queen. Rook h7. Bishop f1. Not the best move. Another good, I've mentioned this, another good strategic idea that you should always consider in chess is when you're up in material, especially when you're up a piece, you should be looking for trades. You should look to trade pieces away and simplify the game. Now, that's not always the best course of action, and this is sort of a scenario where the computer sort of took me to school on this. Instead of bishop f1, it wants me to play queen a4. You know, looking to take this piece. Bishop doesn't have many squares that it can go to. So bishop c8, this is the computer continuation. Knight b5, now this is a serious threat. That looks pretty serious to me. So he has to play here to stop the checkmate threat. Then an amazing sacrifice. Bishop takes b6. Wow. Unbelievable. This is the type of move that I wish that I could find. Because after this, then I go bloop, skewering the king and the rook. I'm going to win something. I'm going to win I'm going to win either the rook or something else. He could take this, but I'm going to get my piece. And the computer, funny enough, says queen takes is the best move. And then bam, you lose your queen. Yeah, so that's the computer continuation. I didn't play that. Really interesting. It took me to school on this. So here, instead of bishop f1, I should play queen a4. Keeping all of these threats alive of not only taking the bishop, but coming in with the knight and delivering checkmate. So, good to know. But it's not what I played. I played bishop f1, looking for trades. My opponent obliged. Queen e8, I guess. I don't really understand. Maybe he wants to target this pawn. So I come over here, protecting the pawn, and also, you know, similar to the idea that the computer suggested before, knight in and checkmating with advantage. Sorry, that's not original. Sorry, Ben Feingold. I don't mean to steal all your awesome phrases, but you taught me a lot, sir. So anyway, black plays knight e7, getting his piece out. This knight's getting a workout. He's double attacking this pawn. Wait a minute. So I come in with my plan. I want to checkmate him, and this is where things start getting really weird. I'm down to about 2 minutes left on my clock, and he's got something like 5.5 minutes. and I start getting overexcited. The computer says I'm completely winning here. If I just play normal chess moves, I'm totally fine. So I come in, and I try to create this checkmate threat, and I didn't really consider that when knight takes the pawn, he's stopping me from taking this piece and checkmating black. Didn't really consider that. This was like a hammer to me where I was like, oh. And now it's an interesting problem, because if I can make that knight move, I'm winning. I need to be channeling my inner Bob Seger and figure out how the knight moves. But there's no way that I can really get to him. My light square bishop is gone. There's no way I can get him with a pawn. So somehow black has managed to glue his position together. Even though he's down a piece, it's not so clear now what my attacking plan is. Yeah, so I thought here for a while, probably about a minute, and I was like, okay, well, if I can't get rid of the knight, we'll bring a rook, and, maybe I can get, something like this going on. Or maybe I can do some rook stuff, maybe even another rook thing like this. I was thinking maybe that's the thing. Maybe even double up the rooks. Yeah. A6, threatening the knight. And now I don't know what I was thinking. This is where I just start going crazy. This sacrifice doesn't work now. We saw this sacrifice earlier when I had a pawn here. It doesn't work now. It just doesn't. Because after this, I come in rather, and I was thinking somehow maybe I could checkmate him on this square. Somehow, I don't know. And it just doesn't work, because he takes the pawn, I take with check, he blocks with the rook, and I'm dead. Now he's up a piece. And he's got all his pawns lined up, and it's, from the penthouse to the outhouse. What the computer says I should do after this a6 move, and again, this is like a 10 move deep combination, but I think I should be able to see this now by this point, and I just didn't, because I was in time trouble. Computer says, oh, nope, going back. Okay. Computer says I should play queen takes a6. And then queen d7, rook d3, again with the idea of maybe coming over here, getting this rook over here, and then, roar. Queen c8. My queen just backs up. His queen's rerouting around, trying to defend the king. f4, which I understand. Knight a7, which again I also kind of understand. He's just trying to give his king some breathing room. I take. There's a few different moves here. I think capturing the queen is totally fine, but God, computer. But again, this is the idea of restriction and not letting your opponent do anything. Queen a4, targeting this pawn. Rook e8, defending. Rook comes over to b3, giving a sharp eye to the king. There's some tactics starting to loom now. And again, this is the computer continuation. King b7 does not look good. When you got heavy pieces coming at you, you don't want your king to step up. f5, popping open on the king side. Queen comes up, looking for a trade, which now the computer thinks is fine. F takes. Rook moves here. Yeah, and this is as far as I analyzed, and it says that white has an overwhelming advantage, which I agree with. Black's got 4 pawns. White's got 4 pawns plus 2 extra. These two are getting close to queening. I've got the extra rook, or the extra bishop rather. My rooks are more active. His rooks are useless. His king's stuck over here. Yeah, the computer says that this is just completely winning for white. But that's not what I did after a6. I was in time trouble. I was looking for the checkmate. I had checkmates on the mind. Yeah, and I just made an unsound sacrifice. And then takes. Yeah, and here I'm losing. So I suppose the lesson to take from this is don't get overexcited looking for checkmates. When you're ahead in material, just play normal chess moves. Restrict your opponent's play when you can. When you're winning, try to restrict your opponent's play and not get too overexcited, because one bad move and everything crumbles and you lose. And then you have to go home and cry in your Cheerios. Which I didn't cry in my Cheerios, I cried in my Pabst Blue Ribbon. So anyway, that was it for another chess analysis from Stingray Live Studios. My name's Jeremiah, and I'll see you all in the future. Bye-bye.